Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. We'll wait 2-3 minutes and then we'll start. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Good evening. Rama, you email me about that. I'll get it sorted. Good evening. 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 Yes. Okay. Good evening. Rama, you try once. Give the email to me. I'll try to get it sorted. Don't worry about it. I you must be Rama. Theek. See, I'm giving you my email. I'll try to figure it out. So this is first class of mine. I have attended any history. Aishwarya, we are finished. We are giving independence today, so don't worry. You always have an option to go back. Mallikarjun, you can also email. I'll get it sorted. I know your case, but I send it to me. I'll try it. If people have tried it, I'll also try. Yes. So Aishwarya, you can now watch the videos. You're entering last class of Modern India. We will be finishing Modern India today fully, and Monday we'll start post independence. As I can see, we don't need to go for two classes. We can. Aditya, we are exactly where we started on Monday. So if anybody wants to repeat the whole story again, Saturday, Sunday, I will do it again full. It will show lecture 1 post independence. Don't worry about that. It will say lecture 1 post independence, but we had already planned this. So don't have to worry about it. It is modern India last class. Lecture 2, 3, I will get them renamed, and we'll have 1 post independence on Sunday. Doubt class also on Sunday. Don't worry about it. We wait 1 more minute. We don't see. Simple. Why are you getting complicated over this? Yesterday we reached till RIN. We complete Indian independence today. And post independence we start on Monday. End of story. End of story. So don't look at what it says, post independence lecture 1. Don't worry about that. Sir, has this portion been taught in last weekend batch? No. Again, I'm telling you, weekend batch and Monday when we started, exactly same point we were. On this Saturday, Sunday, I will finish modern day. The way I will finish it with you, same way I will finish on Sunday evening. Shubham, under timetable in your dashboard itself, there would be an option of timetable. It will show you the year-long timetable. One webinar will be art and culture. Art and culture. I have no idea, Shelja. I have not seen the NDA syllabus. I'm waiting 1 more minute because still close to 25% people not there. I missed a few classes due to previous. You can come in weekend batch and you can make that up. Okay. So yesterday we stopped at the most important juncture, which is RIN. Now, what I will do with you is 3 things. Today's agenda is very clear. Today's agenda is to give India independence. We will start with discussing about Muslim League and its position by 1943, 44, and its demand for Pakistan, how it had evolved over a period of time. Then we will go and discuss 2 major constitutional moments, which is called Wavell Conference and thereafter Cabinet Mission. And once we have reached till the Cabinet Mission itself, we will go towards independence vis-a-vis the interim government. With interim government, we further go towards the what we call as February Declaration, or at least Declaration of 1947 February. Then we'll discuss what is called ISME plan, and then we'll discuss 3rd June plan, and then give India independence on 15th August 1947. I'm going to give you a timeline here so that you have a better understanding of how these events are happening. Once we are done with that, then I have to cover miscellaneous topics with you. Some of them may be painful, some of them may not be painful to you, but I'm telling you, except for depressed class movements, a little bit of pain will come. I have been keeping this injection for the last moment itself. Important vaccine shot, have to take it. But today we'll cover everything small, big, and close modern day. We'll also try to do previous year questions from whatever we've covered generally. Today it should have been post independence, but as I said, this 1.5 hours is where we were going up and down. So rather than rushing it yesterday, I took my time, and today we will finish everything. And thereafter, from Monday, we will start post independence. Post independence Monday, Tuesday, and then I will keep one class on Sunday, where we'll have the last class and a doubt session. So basically, this is the plan. I have to give you a master timeline of history, all of modern India. I have to give you 3 to 4 important timelines, which I will give you on Monday, because it takes time. I want to revise and then go to post independence. If this is acceptable, we can start with making the new timeline in that regard. Can we do it? Yes, very good. Okay. Okay. Now, our story starts in 1944. Then we go to June 1945. Then September 1945. We've covered some of these events already. We have November, December 1945. Thereafter, we go to February 1946. Then May 1946. Then from May 1946, we go to July 1946. Then August 1946. Then 2nd September 1946. October 1946. And thereafter we go to February 1947. Then we have March 1947. Then May 1947. Then the fateful June 1947, and 15th August 1947. So we started, if you remember, this was Imphal campaign of the INA. June of 1945, this is a conference we have to cover, which is called Wavell Conference. This is one thing which we skipped yesterday, because Wavell and cabinet are better learnt together. Then September, World War II will end. And November, December, we have something which we already discussed, what called the INA trials. The INA trials. Then February, again, we've discussed one after the other, what is called the RIN mutiny. And then we have to cover this new section, which is the cabinet mission. The cabinet mission. Cabinet mission. Thereafter, July 1946 is going to be our interim government elections. This is called Direct Action Day. Direct Action Day. Then 2nd September 1946. Very important because interim government is formed. Muslim League boycotts. And thereafter, October, Muslim League joins the interim government. Thereafter, February will come as a major moment for Indian history. This is called Attlee Declaration. Attlee Declaration, which had said that we will get independence in 1948. June 1948 decided, and thereafter March 1947, we have Mountbatten comes to India. May is called Ismay and Dickey Bird Plan. June is 3rd June Plan, Mountbatten Plan, and this is Indian independence with partition. And from there, Monday onwards, we'll take up the story after that. So basically, if you look at it, I have to cover this and this, and then take the story forward. This is the last timeline I give you. Here you can see month by month it matters, and generally, the concept is that here every month was an event in itself. So if we are all clear about what we did yesterday, which was how RIN and how wave and INA trials were very, very important in creating a certain environment. Can we discuss first Muslim League's position, then discuss what we call C. Jaragopal's the Rajaji formula, and what we call as the concept of Bhulabhai Desai and Desai-Liaquat pact. Can we discuss that? Everybody's on board. I hope yesterday you were able to understand the whole logic of the syllabus, that overnight you thought about it and you saw the logic of this whole syllabus itself, how we have been going about it. Everything we've done is to move in a certain direction. Every point in that sense was very, very important, and in that sense every event which we've done leads to this event itself. So now we come to the 1940s, and I'm now picking up something which is happening in the background. And in the background, in 1940, for Lahore session of the Muslim League, it is this session where they decide that Muslim League will call for a grouping of geographically contagious areas where Muslims are in majority, be it northwest or east, and they wanted now an independent, autonomous, sovereign nation which was safeguarding the interest of their minority, which is the Muslim. And therefore, based on this idea, on 23rd March 1943, Pakistan Day was observed by the Muslim League. Now pay attention to something. The fact is, the day, the exactly next month, the period of 1940 is where we get the August offer, and they realize that it is not going to work out. They are still talking about single union, so they do this. Now, one thing should be very clear. That what Muslim League was in 1936, what is what in 1940, and it was what in 1943 or 44, is quite different. In 1936, the Muslim League gets its biggest, rudest shock possible, which is the idea that they represented only 3% Muslim, what we call as vote share. This may not be a revelation to us, but for Jinnah, it was a jolting moment. Because he realizes that the Muslim League has no standing vis-a-vis Fazlul Haq or Khiz Hayat Khan or in northwestern or any other sector. And as you know, after 1939, Jinnah will fall in love with Linlithgow, and the Linlithgow-Jinnah alliance in the war cabinet was going to be extremely detrimental for the INC, but very, very important for the Muslim League. The fact is that here the INC lost a chance to get the support of the Muslim League, but they were basically too arrogant to do it. And the arrogance of the INC will cost them, because now Jinnah will bond with Linlithgow over the fact that both hated the INC. And by 1940, you see that now, based on the support which Linlithgow has given, he is giving this idea that we want a Pakistan, we want a Pakistan. As it is, that idea had become very popular after it was proposed in the third roundtable conference in 1932 itself. The fact is that between 40 to 43, Muslim League changed its strategy. Muslim League now went for what is called as very violent and aggressive form of communalism. And in this period, we see riot after riot happening because the Muslim League is either engineering it or the British is allowing it. So rioting will become extremely common during this period of 40 to 43, 44. It is only during the Quit India movement that rioting stopped. But the fact was that Jinnah's confidence had reached a very high point by the time we reached till 1943-44, and he was becoming more and more confident that if the elections will happen, he will get a better vote share than what he got in 1936. Now, the INC could see that. See, the INC, after the August offer and the Cripps mission, could see that the British are moving towards concessions. And basically, the Muslim League was the only party which could block or create an issue for the INC in getting independence. Because now that they would give independence, then Muslim League will start to say, no, we don't want independence, we want something else. The INC could see that there could be a moment in which this minority clause, which they've talked about in 1940 and 42, the Muslim League could become the biggest roadblock for Indians and their independence. And I think we all can agree that the INC was up to something in understanding that yes, Muslim League holds power as of right now. And if that is the case, the INC tried to pacify the Muslim League. But if you try to, pacification would mean try to appease. If you try to appease Jinnah, what message does he get? If the INC tries to engage with the Muslim League, that he is now something. He is now something. If the INC, which ignored the Muslim League plea to go into an alliance in 1936, now if Jinnah is being approached by INC leaders, be it C. Rajagopalachari, who's a very, very towering leader, or Bhulabhai Desai, the fact is that now he thinks that he holds a little bit of power. Now, that will manifest in two moments. In what is called as the Rajaji formula, or the CR formula, or the Rajagopalachari formula, and the Bhulabhai Desai and Liaquat formula. The fact was that what the INC was doing was, it was preemptively telling the Muslim League, please don't block independence. We are ready to go into an understanding with you. So in 1944 itself, this was a tacit acceptance of the League's demand for Pakistan by the INC. The INC was now so desperate for independence that they said that, okay, whatever be the cost, let us at least get independence from the British. And the CR formula said that Muslim League, please endorse the Congress demand for independence and the League to cooperate with Congress in forming the provisional government. After that, whatever drama you want to do, Jinha, you do. You dance, you do whatever you want. But when the INC does get independence, don't do drama, you Linlithgow second wife. This is what C. Rajagopalacharya is basically saying, that you just support the Congress in saying that you want independence. But the more you appease him, the more he becomes stronger. How Muslim League what got so powerful, as Muslim were also supporting INC. Ankush, as I said, Linlithgow and state machinery helped Muslim League in getting a lot of seats. And if you remember, in 1940, 28 months ministries of the Congress resigned. Now, if all INC members will resign in the central legislative and provincial legislative assemblies, who gains out of that? Who gains? The Muslim League, because then what the Muslim League will do is it will start to stuff the central legislative assembly, the provincial legislative assembly. And here now, slowly but surely, using state machinery, he was becoming more and more and more powerful. So the point is that when Rajagopalachari says that please accept the demand, we are ready after the end of the war for the entire Muslim population or Muslim majority areas to go for a plebiscite and let them decide that do they want a partition or not. In the case of acceptance of partition, we will agree for a joint center, and only if power is transferred fully to India, we will tell you. But you tell me, why would this clause be too dangerous for Jinnah, which is let the people decide a partition, which is that we do a plebiscite, which is voting. Why would Jinnah not agree to this clause? Very good. Now you're talking like an Indian, not like a Britisher. Basically, only Jinnah wants partition. The people of India, the Muslims of India, they don't support the Muslim League at this point of time, majority of them. So the fact was that if Jinnah accepts this model, the problem would be the 1936 election nightmare came in front of Jinnah, that maybe the people will say that we want a united India. And please remember this point, that next time when somebody says to you that dash and dash voted to be part of Pakistan, or the dash community said that they want to be part of Pakistan, remember nobody was asked. The majority of the Muslims never wanted to be in that area what is called Pakistan today. That whole population actually never voted for Pakistan also. It was Jinnah and his thirst for power and one party which wanted to create Pakistan. Ironically, when even the partition happened, I will show you, when I talk about 1946, I'll tell you, both Northwestern Frontier Province, which is Pakistan today, and East Bengal, which is Bangladesh today, neither elected Muslim League. One elected Khizehat Khan, the other one elected Fazlul Haq. Ironically, it was Mountbatten who messed up this whole process through Radcliffe, which we will discuss. Now, obviously, Jinnah was never going to accept this. Jinnah was never going to accept this because for him, it was two-nation theory. And for him, it was very simple. He would never take a common center also. And he said that not the entire population of Northeast or Northwest should do it. Only Muslims, which is basically separate electorate, should be the voting idea. While the Congress was ready to cooperate with the League for independence, the League did not care for independence of the Union. It was only interested in a separate nation. And that is why V.D. Savarkar hated the CR plan, saying that what you've now done is now you've told Jinnah that is too important. So basically, it's a sibling type war, that you pushed your sibling to the ground. He did not say anything later, but now your mother is beating you and he doesn't care. He only wants his gulab jamun. That is the basic idea which is there. When Jinnah came pleading to the INC said, we don't know who you are. Now Jinnah is saying, I don't care about this union and all. I only care about my Pakistan. But there's a very interesting question which will come in 1946. And basically, people will say that Jinnah had lost his mind. The fact of the matter was, Jinnah was becoming too important. In order to pacify the Jinnah again, there's again a proposal which came in 1944-45, which is called the Desai-Liaquat Pact. Bhulabhai Desai was the leader of the Congress and Central Legislative Assembly. Liaquat Ali was the deputy leader of the Muslim League in that assembly. They said, let us do one thing. Let's come together. I'll just make this public for anybody who does not know what is a plebiscite. The fact of the matter is, here they are trying to figure out, if the interim government is formed, a small constituent assembly is formed, how they should share power. An equal number of people nominated by the Congress and the League to the Central Legislative Assembly, 20% seats for minorities. However, no settlement will reach, because here Muslim League is totally, in a way, stuck. It is stuck on this issue that we want something. We want something which is the concept of Pakistan. Now, before I go to Waiver Plan, Sabir will be sharing a link in the chat box in front of you. As part of the miscellaneous things which you need, all newspapers and governor generals, there's a PDF link which will come to you. I'll request him to post it in the chat box. Just right now he'll do it. As soon as I do it, I'll tell you. It has all newspapers and journals. Yes, Sabir has put it, and you see newspapers and governor generals. Newspapers and governor general. Just open it and confirm it to me that it is opening and you understand what it is. It's a PDF file. I always give it to each batch. This is basically, you print it and you keep it with you. All governor generals and what they have done is in one file itself. Mentions books and journals. It is opening, perfect. And also has every governor general, governor and viceroy and what they've done by point. So I hope you will find this useful in your preparation. It's a very descriptive area. I've given it to you. Print it, keep it with you. Don't have to learn it, but just go through it from time to time. So everybody is able to open it and they have it, right? Plebiscite still exists. That's okay. Again, one small contribution to your preparation to give you something better in a way for preparation in that regard. For you running around and looking for things, you'll find it in different books. But if you will go through the spectrum one, remember it has a lot of mistakes. That is why I have actually gone through that list, added where needed, and actually tried to make it better. So you'll find this in the spectrum back also. But the problem is that the spectrum has a lot of alignment issues and issues generally. So if we are all on the same page with regards to this file, then I want to go to Waiver Plan. The SI formula is that if interim government or constituent assembly is formed, how we will divide power never went forward. Can we talk about Waiver Plan? Because this is a turning point. Okay. Now, Prerna, it's not a link. You have to copy and paste it in the URL and it should open. It's not a clickable link. Clickable links, all you should remember, is always in blue color. It's not in blue color. Okay. Now, Desai Liaquat, and basic point is, C. Rajagopalachari, Jinnah now knows that he is too important. I'll take class on next Sunday. We'll talk about that. Vithal, wait. Now, INC's exception of Jinnah's power. These areas are basically prelims oriented. They can ask you, C. Rajagopalachari formula, when did it happen? Or they can ask you the basic provision. That's it. Plebiscite and all. Pay attention. These are two smaller topics. This is the major moment. Waival and cabinet. Now, first, I told you that Jinnah has now changed his stance. Right now, by 1944, INC knows that Jinnah has become important. But if there's one person who should be given the prize of the fool of the year, or the fool of the century, or the dumbest viceroy, it should be Wavell. So Linlithgow went, and before Mountbatten came, there was a person called Archibald Wavell. He is the most clueless. He's the most clueless, what we call as viceroy, as appointed by Churchill. As appointed by Churchill. Now the point is that in our story, in June of 1945, certain things are happening in Europe. What is happening is that Germany was on verge of surrendering. September, Japan will agitate surrender, and the war will end. More than that, now general elections had been planned in Britain. So because national emergency was there since 1939, Churchill between 1939 to 1945, exceeding his time period as prime minister, now the British people were too agitated by Churchill. They wanted change, and there was an election coming. And the India issue had become quite important. And the person who was fighting against Churchill was a person called Attlee. Clement Attlee. Attlee is a Labour Party candidate. And for your surprise and for knowing it, he is the prime minister who gave us independence. Clement Attlee made India an issue, saying that Churchill had literally induced the famine in 1943, and he criticized Churchill's very bad attitude, bastard Churchill, and he is seen as a hero across the world. But for Indians, he is the worst of the worst. No abuse has been ever made other than his name being the biggest abuse for Indians. Churchill, in all fairness, is the worst viceroy ever. Worst prime minister ever when it comes to Indian independence. Now, Churchill is under pressure. And ironically, Clement Attlee is the friend of Bose and Nehru both. So, Churchill knew that he had to do some drama to show that he was serious about Indian independence. So, the timing of the Wavell plan is basically matching with the general election. The fact was that Europe was now seeing the end of the war itself. Conservative governments have now reached their basic conclusions and their ideas. The US is creating more and more pressure on the British to do something about India. Wavell was now said that, okay, remember, the INC was banned in 1942, 9th August. June 1945, the INC leaders were released. For 3 years, Nehru, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad, Gandhi, and multiple leaders were in jail. The harshness of this jail was such that if you see any pictures or you have certain videos on YouTube which show Wavell conference videos, our leaders were not even able to stand. They were brought on rickshaws and they used to limp to the conference hall. The British, Linlithgow, had shown so much ruthlessness that most of the leaders were in the jail since 9th August 1942. And the fact was that with general elections in England and the pressures of the US and the USSR both that India should be given independence, now Wavell is given a green light, do something. Do we understand the context, everybody? In election, Attlee is a friend. He wants to show to the people of Britain he is pro-India. Churchill's last time doing a drama. It is a big lollipop, but this lollipop backfired on India very quickly, very, very big. One of the reasons why Jinnah knew that he would get Pakistan is because of the Wavell Conference. Are we all clear about the context? Have to be very clear. We are slowly but surely moving towards independence. Yes? Yes. Okay. Now, the fact was that now the British was still talking about dominion only, but dominion outside Commonwealth. The concept was that how should the Constituent Assembly or who should be the power transferred to? This is a very important point you need to understand, that India's independence is never called Indian Revolution, because it was not a revolution. It was transfer of power. That is why called struggle for independence. That is why it's called transfer of power, never called Indian Revolution. So the big concept was British, who should the British transfer power? So now Wavell brings in Jinnah, he brings in Gandhi, he brings in all major leaders to Shimla. And that's why it's called Shimla Conference also. And in Shimla, he proposes the following thing, that I will create a Constituent Assembly, but that Constituent Assembly should be elected or nominated by the members of the major parties. The members of the major parties. So what he proposes is, I will give dominion status to India. That is a standard thing. But he says that I will reorganize and reconstruct my executive council. I will reorganize and reconstitute my executive council in such a way that this executive council will then tell me if I can use a veto or not. And this executive council will tell me how to write the new constitution. Now, this executive council should be very representative of India itself. So this fool, what he does is, he says that, okay, the new executive council will have the governor general and viceroy. And it will then have 15 members. 5 Hindu, 5 Muslim, and 5 minority members. Now, the INC could see one opportunity here. The INC could nominate, the concept was that either everybody nominates the 5, 5, and 5, or there should be a joint list which should come. Now, INC could see that it can fill up these 5, yes or no? It can fill up this 5, which is 5 INC members. All Hindu can be sent here. Now, here also INC can send members. Dr. Ambedkar can go. You can send in minorities a Christian member of the INC, Anglo-Indian member of the INC, one member, Dr. Ambedkar himself. And in a way, even if the Muslim League nominates all 5, who gets a majority in the Executive Council? Who gets a majority in the Executive Council? The INC. Now, basically, you are thinking like Jinnah right now. Jinnah could see that this is 2/3 majority to the INC, 1/3 majority to the Muslim League. Because Muslim League can nominate 5, but if it can't nominate, Muslim League is so monolithic that no depressed class leader would even get close to the Muslim League. So now INC could see a very good opportunity. 10 members we can push in, and we can then throw Jinnah out of the window because he will only have 5 members. Now Jinnah does a drama, a tantrum. And the tantrum he throws, this drama he does is that he says that I will only be member to this whole conference called the Waival Plan. I will only participate, Muslim League will only participate if 5 members are nominated by the Muslim League and the INC can only nominate 5 Hindu members. Now, this was not acceptable to INC. INC said that we don't just represent Hindus, we represent everybody. So you can't say that we are a caste Hindu, like you are a Muslim, what we call as party. We are not a Hindu party. Why can't INC send the 5 Muslim members? They can send it if even that is given to Muslim League straightforward. The point was that in principle, the INC would dominate this type of a structure. The simple straightforward point is Muslim League was saying that INC can only nominate 5. Let us nominate 5 of the Muslim and also 3 to 4 out of the minorities. Basically, Jinnah forgot that his lover Lilithgo was not there. But the problem is that Muslim League had become too important by this point of time and it was dictating a lot of things. Now, Jinnah said that if this demand, INC said no, we will not allow this to happen. Now, Jinnah said to Waival, if this deadlock is not broken, I will walk out of the Waival conference. Now, if you are talking about a country like India, should Muslim League leaving the conference be so significant or be so important? No, it's just one political party. It's just one political party. If every political party is ready, why should Muslim League decide? But this fool called Waival, what he does is that as soon as Jinnah walks out of the Waival conference, he says, chalo, दुकान बंद कर देते, अब तो नहीं हो पाएगा. Now he says, let's dissolve the Waival conference because Muslim League has walked out. It is here that now Jinnah could see that I can dictate anything. I can dictate anything. Because the Waival conference should not have been dissolved just because Muslim League walked out. But Waival, the fool called Waival, this dumb viceroy is going to dissolve the Waival conference because Muslim League was not ready to be there. Thereby showing to INC and to the British, now Jinnah basically controls the key to independence. Because if the Muslim League does not get pacified or appeased, it will not go forward only. So if Desai formula or the Bhulabhai Desai and Liaquat formula and C. Rajagopalachari formula was basically the Muslim League getting known that they were becoming important, this was the moment it got confirmed. That the Jinnah is that child in the gully cricket who gets the bat, and if he gets out, he will take the bat with him, saying that if I get out, I will not let anybody else play. So he is like, ki mera bat hai, I will take it with me. So this is basically Muslim League. Give us Pakistan or we will not let any form of constitutional development go forward. So I hope you realize why Waival conference failure is a very important turning point in the psyche of Jinnah and Muslim League and India's independence itself. If you do, I'll read it out to you. This is the implication. This is the implication. Yes? Perfecto. Very good. Now you see. The idea was to reconstruct the Executive Council of the Governor General. This was for the purpose of writing a new constitution. The plan was, did Muslims support Jinnah at this time? No. Politics is in the hand of Jinnah. People still don't support the Muslim League. However, By 1946, communal strife will become so much. Jinnah in 1945 knew that he can now go for his next phase, which is divide the people so much that anything can be done. So he said, we'll give us dominion status. He'll give us dominion status. He said that with the exception of the Viceroy and Commander-in-Chief, all members of the Executive Council will be Indians. Caste Hindus and Muslims will have equal representation, 5 and 5. And 5 would be given to other minorities which are there. For example, Dalits, Sikhs, Anglo-Indians, and Europeans. The reconstructed council would function as an interim government within the Government of India Act 1935. The veto would be on the advice of the council itself. The representatives of different parties were to submit a joint list for the viceroy. If joint list does not come, separate list should come. Possibilities for having open negotiations for a new constitution after the war was open. However, this process will fail. Why? Because League wanted all Muslim members to be nominated by the League, because it feared that since the aim of other minorities, depressed classes, Sikhs, Christians, were not the same as the Congress. Ironically, neither did the depressed classes, Sikhs or Christians want a separate nation. Everybody wanted a nation. Muslim League wanted a separate nation. And this would in turn only give 1/3 majority to the League. League claimed that it should have a veto in the council with the decision to oppose any decision which is in the need of or interest of Muslim League or Muslims. Congress, very straightforward, said that we cannot allow this plan to show us as a purely caste Hindu party. Insisted to this right the fact that we are not just representing Hindus, we represent everybody. The mistake Wavell will do is, Wavell announced a breakdown of talks once League exited, giving League a virtual veto, and that is why this will boost Jinnah's position, and this will expose the real character of Churchill, and that is why Churchill will automatically lose the election when it came to 1945 elections, and Attlee will get elected. But what is more important is now cabinet mission. Can I discuss the cabinet mission? Because cabinet mission is under which everything happened in India generally. Anybody wants to say something right now, you say it right now, which is that we have reached a point where now things are going to become very serious. We are now at the moment of cabinet mission. May of 1946, not even 1 year away, close to 1 year away from independence. Everything which I've done till this point, August offer, in a way, see, August offer, Cripps mission, Wavell plan, and cabinet mission are 4 areas out of which questions come. And August offer is dominion inside and mainly Indian. Cripps mission is dominion outside, all Indian, but partition clause. Wavell plan is reconstruction of executive council, but breaks down because Muslim League has left. Can't understand the problem of British with Churchill. British Churchill issue is Churchill in a way did not handle the Second World War well. People are angry. People in the start support you. But by the end of the war, so many British are dead that people want Wavell gone. People want Churchill gone. That is a standard anger which you have with your leaders. But don't sympathize with Churchill. Forget him. So this mistake, Jinnah opines that Pakistan become, yes, basically Jinnah now has an assertion that the British will not let him down. Cripps mission, as I told you, outside dominion, outside the concept of all Indian Constituent Assembly, but partition plan that every province can leave if they want to leave the union. Again, I'm not going to discuss August offer and Cripps mission again, something which you can see in the video. Can I talk about cabinet mission? Are we clear about Wavell conference? Because now just half an hour, 45 minutes away from independence we are. Yes. Okay. Now. Now Clement Attlee, he is elected as Prime Minister. Jawaharlal Nehru says to Attlee that now do something. You are a Labour Party member, my friend. You should give us a concession. And the only serious mission which actually came out of these four was the cabinet mission. And the reason it's called the cabinet mission is because Attlee sent 3 people out of the British cabinet itself. Pethick Lawrence, the Secretary of State of India. Stanford Cripps, the same Cripps who came at that point of time. He's the president of the Board of Trade, basically trade minister. And A.V. Alexander, who is basically the first Lord of Admiralty, basically Navy. Lawrence was the chairman of this mission. And now please pay attention. Now please pay attention. Everybody's comfortable because now things are going to happen very quickly. Very dangerous cabinet mission. Everybody's comfortable. You know why it's called cabinet mission. I want everybody's yes here because something very significant is going to happen. Okay. Now, cabinet mission says that there's a person called Jinnah who is basically saying Pakistan, we want Pakistan. Since 1940, he was talking about it. So they said, Jinnah, come here. This is the map of India. Let's solve this Pakistan issue first. We need to get this minority issue first. This is Indian map, British India map. You tell us where is Pakistan, and if possible, we'll try to integrate the demand of Pakistan into the cabinet mission. Now, for the first time, somebody had genuinely asked Jinnah, what is Pakistan? Because the Pakistan was an idea. A new nation, 2 nations. But where that nation will be, nobody had an idea. Basically, it was a negotiating tool to get power, but nobody really had an idea where Pakistan actually should be. So now Jinnah will take the map, take the green color, and start to color. And when he starts to color, slowly but surely, cabinet mission realizes that either this man is drunk or high or he's lost his mind. Because the map he will draw is this one. This is Pakistan for Jinnah. So somehow the whole of the West, then a whole corridor in between India, Delhi is also part of it. Then he said, thoda Bihar bhi de do. Little bit of UP I will also like. Then he said, whole of Northeast. Most of Northeast is Christian by this point of time. But he said, udhar bhi chahiye. Then he said, khali lag something in peninsular India. Little bit in Kerala. Whole of Gujarat. Then he said, Arey, acha, if I remember, Sri Lanka bhi apna hi hai na. So let's take some parts in Sri Lanka. Pura Andaman Nicobar Island le lete hain. There are only tribes here. But he said, whole of Andaman Nicobar Island, whole of Lakshadweep, if at this point of time, India, British India controlled, for example, Australia, he would have answered, he would have marked Australia also. And then he says, if they want, I'll give them Karachi, but I want Bombay. Because I love the weather of Bombay. Bombay, my wife is also buried. I would like to be buried with my wife, which he never got to. But basically, he said, Karachi, you can take. I would like to have Bombay. Bombay, good city. Now, cabinet mission said that how have you come to this conclusion? Neither is your vote share in these areas. Neither have these people voted for you. Some of these are princely states which you're asking for, which is not part of British India only. Whole of Hyderabad is asking for. And he said you want Jammu and Kashmir also, which is again a princely state. You want till Baluchistan, which is again a princely state. In between Bihar, you want. These are geographically non-contiguous areas. And the idea was, they said that this looks like a moth-eaten Pakistan. That you gave up Pakistan and then an insect came and ate whatever. So 10 kilometers India, 10 kilometers India, in between Pakistan. What does that make sense? So this delusional personality, this manghadant kahani he had made in his life, this is the idea of Pakistan he had. So the cabinet mission said, इतना टेंशन नहीं लेने का. The cabinet mission straight away declined the concept of Pakistan only. Cabinet mission said that what Jinnah is asking for cannot be given. Cabinet mission outrightly rejected Pakistan. They said that it cannot be that with 38% in non-Muslim population in Northwest and 48% non-Muslim population in Northeast, and the very principle of Hindu-Muslim, Sikh-Hindu, Jalandhar, Sikh, deep-rooted regional ties will be destroyed if we go for such type of Pakistan. So A.V. Alexander and all didn't sleep for one day, thinking that Jinnah will come and said, I want this also. Ye miss ho gaya tha. So the fact of the matter is that Jinnah had no idea what he was asking for. No idea whatsoever what he was asking for. Now, till this point, the cabinet mission is good. Because after this point, cabinet mission gave a very dangerous plan. If we understand the drunkard nature of Jinnah whilst making this map, can I now discuss the provisions of the cabinet mission other than rejection of Pakistan? Bangladesh was given as East Pakistan. Later, Bangladesh got independence in 71. Discuss it. We'll discuss it. Sab hoga. Okay. Now, the timeline which cabinet mission decided was, we are in 1946. We plan to give India independence by 1956. First clause was 10-year transition period, which is basically very overconfident of Alexander, Cripps and Pethick Lawrence, because holding India for another 10 years would have been very difficult. That is still okay. That you are delusional, that you don't understand that Arain mutiny has happened. What is more dangerous is that now the cabinet mission said, in 1946 we will hold an election. And this election does happen. And the idea was that there will be a common center, a dominion called India will be created. Dominion called India will be created, which will have an option to leave the Commonwealth. That is still okay. This is the same Cripps mission lollipop. But then it said that we will divide all provinces in India into 3 groups. One group will be Hindu majority provinces. The second group will be Muslim majority, one in East, one in West. Now, this was already a very problematic way of dividing the provinces, but that is still not the problem. The problem is these three fools again were drinking the same thing which Jinnah was drinking. Because they say that all three will write their own constitution. Three constitutions. And after writing their own constitution, there will be a common center. There will be a common center whose constitution will basically be the three constitutions together. Still okay. Still okay. Now, the biggest problem with cabinet mission was it said after basically it's a federal structure which they've given. After first general election and 10 years of existence, provinces will have the option to leave the union. Now, this means India created in 1947 is a ticking time bomb till 1957. Very simply, neither of these three groups would actually want to be under common center. Rather, three countries will be created. And if three countries are created, there's further clause that each of the states of these three countries can come out if needed. Basically, the cabinet mission, which did go ahead, this is the exact plan which went ahead. This was a very dangerous concept which cabinet mission introduced, and thank God that when Mountbatten came to India in March of 1946, he straight away said that this plan cannot work. This plan cannot work. The British were doing what they do best. Divide, divide, divide. The British did it in Southeast Asia, they did it in Africa, they did it in Israel, Palestine, they did it here also. They were making sure that an India would never come into existence, which would become a threat for the English. And how we've overtaken their economy today, Britishers are begging at our feet. We have an Indian Prime Minister sitting, Indian origin Indian Prime Minister sitting in as the British Prime Minister. They never wanted that future, because they knew that as much as we divide India, once we come together, there is no beating India. So be very clear that cabinet mission was a very dangerous mission as much as it rejected Pakistan. So if I go with the clauses of the cabinet mission, it said partition would be problematic. Okay, very good. We will not create Pakistan or West Pakistan. Rather, we will create three sections, three groupings. Hindu majority provinces like United Province, Central Province, and Bombay. India can leave the Commonwealth means that India will become a dominion, then can become a sovereign state itself. Then Muslim majority provinces in West, Punjab and Northwestern Frontier Province. Muslim majority provinces in Assam and Bengal. Now, till this point, it is still okay. Now pay attention. This is indirect partition, true. Each group would form a separate constitution for their province and will collectively make a constitution for India. The Constituent Assembly will be formed by 389 members, by the provincial assemblies by the way of a proportional representation. Princely states were free to join if they want to. Common center would have defense, communication, and external affairs. Provinces would have full autonomy and residual powers. But this is the problem. After the first general election, a province was free to come out of the group, and after 10 years of being a province, you could be again free to take a call on this constitution itself. So very simply, the British are now not giving Pakistan, but they're creating 15 to 20 different countries. Obviously, Congress rejected it. Jinnah, as it is, got bashed by the cabinet mission. He was never going to accept it. So League rejected it. Congress rejected it. 10 years was never going to be the way in which they were going to go with it. And this grouping was compulsory. So nobody really had a chance to say to the British that what are you trying to do? But the British still went ahead. Saying that now, in order to elect that 389 members, we will go for elections in 1946. Now pay attention to one thing very clearly. In a way, cabinet mission has all the dangerous clauses of all. August offer said what? Dominion, outside, inside, but mainly India. Cripps was there. This is basically Cripps's idea. He wants to create an India which is not one India but three Indias. There are three Indias. The fact is, common center is there, but each have the chance to go out. As they are trying to go out, they also have the chance to get further subdivided. Unfortunately, the Congress has no call, and it is actually the way Indian situation was, that Mountbatten was not in a position to implicate or do this, because basically when in February of 1947, Attlee will say that we will give India in June of 1948. He was talking about creating three Indias. He was actually thinking of this only. This is the exact model he was going for. And he said that we will give independence to all three and then they will come together. So be very clear that the cabinet mission was the mission which was actually going to dictate how things were going to go forward. Now, if you understand cabinet mission, if you understand Wavell, and you basically now understand this part of the story, which is till this point, I would now want to talk about the elections, the dramatic change of fate for Jinnah, and thereafter the road to the independence. And basically, we will take a break once we give India independence. Are we all clear? Cabinet mission makes sense to you? Okay. 10-year clause, Ritika, they decided that this transition of dividing three and everything will be done within 10 years. Okay. Now, you want break, I want Azadi. Let's see who gets more. Okay. Now, cabinet mission done. Now, please pay attention. (1946) elections will happen. This is the one which will decide the interim government. This is the one which will decide the Constituent Assembly. And very simply, Muslim League had now become very aggressive. Muslim League had now become so aggressive that they now had the support of even the middle class Muslim League and middle class Muslim. And they had now started to argue in very rhetorical sense that if you do not vote for the Muslim League, you will be not buried in a Muslim graveyard. Very big agendas they were talking about. So the campaigning of the Muslim League was really polarizing. But ironically, Maulana Abdul Kalam Azad was a bigger and better and more pious Muslim than this bastard called Jinnah, who was talking about the concept of a pious Pakistan. Jinnah was not even a proper practicing Muslim, and he was talking about Muslim identity and Muslim ideas. The fact of the matter is, he is only doing this for his own agenda. But the simple straightforward point is, the slogans, the ideas which were now being pushed in 1946, along with the governmental support which Jinnah had, made sure that Muslim League will have a proper turnaround. Muslim League will have a proper turnaround, because now their vote share will go up from 3% to 86.6%. 30 seats which were reserved for Muslims in the Central Legislative Assembly, which they had not even managed one in 1936. In 1946, they had all 30 out of 30. It was not a mistake or not a joke or a surprise. 91% vote share for INC. 57 out of the 102 seats which were there, 30 they already had. So basically, a proper majority was there with the INC. In provincial elections, they got majority in all provinces except Bengal, Sindh, and Punjab. And the Congress majority provinces such as Northwestern Frontier Province and Assam were claimed in Pakistan. Ironically, the Congress was in a majority in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Ironically, in 1946. Bengal, Sindh, and Punjab had not voted for the Congress. But the two areas where Pakistan will actually be created, Congress was in a majority. This is the irony of our partition, which I will discuss with you on Monday, how basically Mountbatten and the British destroyed India. Because where this fool wanted Pakistan, he did not get it. And where people wanted to be part of India, they actually became part of Pakistan. This is the irony of this story. Now, obviously, the INC will now go ahead and become the biggest leader in the provincial elections. Unlike in 1937, the League clearly established itself as a dominant party among Muslims. Almost 500 seats were reserved for Muslims in India in 11 provinces, out of which 492 were for the Muslim League. Punjab, the Unionist Congress Akali coalition under Khiz-e-Hayat Khan assumed power. Don't learn this, but I'm trying to tell you one thing which is very straightforward thing, which is that when 1946 happened, it was not a joke that Lithgow had succeeded. Separate electorates will happen till the last election. Separate electorates was never given up. Separate electorates will always be the principle which was applied by the British, which came in 1909 till 1946 was applied. These elections are just a sham, but the point was that the INC still got 91% vote share. And ironically, majority of Indians wanted to be part of India only. But the Muslim League now capturing power in the form of 30 seats meant that they could do anything. So Wavell conference happened, cabinet mission happened, and the election has happened. And one thing is very clear, that the new constituent assembly, the new interim government can be formed with majority with the INC, but 1/3 of the seats at least still with the Muslim League. Are we clear about this election? Don't have to learn this data. Do you understand the mandate? You understand the irony? I'm trying to tell you something. For the past 3 classes, that the people who are today in Pakistan and Bangladesh did not vote to be there. It was all Muslim League politics which created this. So remember this point forever. When the next time we think of these nations, think of this point. It is the armies, it is the politics, it is Jinnah, it is Parvez Musharraf, it is their army, it is the ISI, it is their useless politics which has now bankrupted themselves, and the China politics which is basically propagating hate. Because ironically, most of these people and at least their forefathers had voted to be part of India under Unionist Party or Khiz-e-Hayat Khan or the Congress. Are we clear about this? Seems to be a surprise, but that is true. It is true. Ironically, Pakistan was created where nobody voted for Pakistan. Now, once the elections have happened, on 2nd September 1946, the interim government was going to get formed. Now, Jinnah will start his drama. And the drama was that Jinnah said, I will not become a part of the interim government because I want a Pakistan and the cabinet mission is not giving me a Pakistan. He said, elections will be held by July. Nehru will give a very important statement that now at least we are moving towards independence. League withdrew acceptance saying that no. We don't want this, because cabinet mission was going forward. The interim government has been formed as a one whole and cabinet mission had rejected Pakistan. So now on 16th August 1946, the very problematic and infamous direct action day will be there, wherein Jinnah will give a very, very, very derogatory speech in which he says, "Ladke lenge Pakistan." And on 2nd September 1946, when Jawaharlal Nehru will be chosen as the head of the interim government, INC will become the single largest party. Muslim League will boycott. Basically, on 2nd September, when the interim government is formed, the Muslim League was not in the picture. But now, Jawaharlal Nehru is going to write to Attlee. And he basically said to Attlee that if this is how we are going to go ahead, where we are holding Muslim League's face like this, acha, Pakistan chahiye, then I don't want to be part of interim government. And Attlee will create pressure on Wavell, and Wavell will then create pressure on Muslim League that you are not getting anything out of this right now. So by October of 1946, after doing all of this drama, Muslim League will join the interim government back. So after boycotting it for 3 months, October 1946, 5 members will join. Liaquat Ali Khan will become finance minister. Top leaders of the Muslim League did not become part of the whole Constituent Assembly itself because they wanted to still go for the Pakistan movement. On 7th February 1947, now Nehru will say, enough is enough. The Muslim League has also joined. At least now tell us when will you give us independence. And that will in turn lead to, on 20th February 1947, Attlee saying that we will give you independence on June 1948. And he said that I'm changing the Governor General and Viceroy, and he will send in March Mountbatten, one of the grandsons of the Queen itself. So March of 1947, Mountbatten has now landed in India. Just to repeat what I've done till this point, we started with Wavell. Wavell does the blunder of showing Muslim League it was important. We did cabinet. Under cabinet mission, the plan goes ahead. Elections happen. Pakistan issue becomes bigger and bigger because cabinet mission had already denied it. Interim government will be formed. Nehru will become important in that. Nehru will write to Attlee, give us a timeline. He says June 1948 and changes Wavell because Wavell was useless, and sends Mountbatten as the Governor General and Viceroy in 1947 March. Till this point, anybody has any issue? Anybody has any issue till this point? And you can see every month things are happening. Now Mountbatten comes to India. Interim means transitionary. After election, February declaration, Attlee declaration, March of 1947, Mountbatten. Now Mountbatten lands in India and he goes around a little bit. And he realizes 3 things. that the way cabinet mission had planned for 3 different unions or 3 different divisions was not possible. Was not possible because there was no clear-cut majority and minority in most of the states when it came to Hindu Muslims. 48, 50 to very close numbers of Muslims and Hindus were there. And that too, that census data was based in 1941. The last colonial census of India was 1941. So the data was also outdated. So Mountbatten says that this is not the way we will be able to give any form of independence. The first thing is, he says cabinet mission is untenable. Cabinet mission plan is untenable. We need to come up with a different plan. Second thing is, he could see rioting happening in India, left, right, and center, because Pakistan issue had become too big. Jinnah was enticing violence. He should have been burnt alive, but he was making so much violence through his speeches that Mountbatten could see that this 1 year thing which we are seeing is not also possible. Because if I extend this whole thing to 1 year, more people will die. So now Mountbatten writes to Attlee and says, June of 1948 is not possible. We have to prepone this as soon as possible. We need to have transfer of power. Because communal violence is going out of hand. Civil war will start in India, and that is not something we will be able to control. And third was the US was creating more and more pressure. That why isn't India getting independence? This is US politics. The war had been over in 1945. The world had gone into Cold War politics. The US and Russia were fighting. The USA and the USSR were now fighting for ideological dominance. And the previous superpowers, which is Britain and France, were too weak to hold to anything. America wanted that India was lost to the British so that the British just become a footnote in history afterwards. So there's a lot of American pressure on Attlee. There's a lot of pressure on Mountbatten to do something. And the communal violence is rising more and more. Cabinet mission is not possible. So now Mountbatten appoints 2 officers. One, a person called Ismay, and the other one is called Dicky Bird. He is Sarthak to his name, and he's going to prove his name to be totally correct to his character. Ismay and Dicky Bird will come up with a plan between May, June. And this is called the Ismay plan and the Dicky Bird plan. In between this, there will be an alternative plan which will be supported by Bengal. Bengal saying that we don't want to be part of India or Pakistan. You give us totally, you can create a new country called Bengal, which is called the Sarad Bose and the Shoravardi Sarad Bose formula. They were saying that Bengal, make it an independent country itself. We'll have 16 Muslims and 14 Hindus in the cabinet itself. We will then have a Muslim CM and Hindu home minister. And then we will also have proportional representation. 25% of votes for other communities. And a candidate has to win seats by getting most of the votes from his community, 25% from the other community. And Hindus and Muslims will have equal share in military and police. This was a new Sarat formula wherein we can be part of a different country altogether. But as it is, British were never going to allow Sarat Bose to create a separate Bengal. Ismay Dicky Bird will now figure out how to create India. And Nehru will be called in late May to Shimla, and Mountbatten will say, meet Ismay and Dicky Bird. They will tell you how India will be created. Now, these 2 fools, what did they do? Their idea was, let's do one thing. Let's give every province in India independence separately. Meaning Bombay, Madras, central provinces, Bihar, Bengal, Punjab, Northwestern Frontier Province. And then let us allow them to come together to create India and Pakistan. Nehru said, stop this nonsense. Do you really think that if you will create every province as a separate country, they will ever come together? This is called the Balkan Plan. This is called the Balkan Plan or Balkanization of India. Balkan Plan because the British and the French had done the same during the First World War and the interim period between First World War and Second World War in Serbia, Croatia, that whole area of Yugoslavia. Nehru says to Mountbatten, if you're really serious, do something which is possible. And that will be on 3rd June 1947. Mountbatten will come up with his plan, which is called the Mountbatten Plan. Which is called the Mountbatten Plan. And this Mountbatten Plan will be, the 3rd June plan will be integrated into the India Independence Act, which will be passed in July of 1947 and will come effect on 15th August 1947. And the Mountbatten Plan was based on a fool called Sir Cyril Radcliffe. Does not deserve that, Sir. Sir Cyril Cyril Radcliffe. And the concept which was pushed through the Indian Independence Act was that two dominions will be created called India and Pakistan. These dominions will have their own constituent assemblies. Both will have the option to leave the Commonwealth, which both will. They can appoint their own governor generals. Pakistan will appoint Jinnah. Jinnah always wanted to be that person. And India will say to Mountbatten, just Jinnah is next door, you remain here because we don't trust this fool. So India will choose to say, Nehru will say, okay, Mountbatten, you only remain there. Later, Mountbatten will be replaced by C. Rajagopalachari, the first and the last, the first Indian Governor General and Viceroy, and last Governor General Viceroy of India. And then Dr. Rajendra Prasad will be elected as the President of India, first President of India. The problem in this plan was that it was decided that whilst India and Pakistan will be created, Pakistan will be carved out in two zones, West and East. One by partitioning Punjab and then adding to its Baluchistan and Sindh, and the other one in Bengal, whilst taking what we call today as Bangladesh. I will discuss the Radcliffe plan with you on Monday in more detail because I have to discuss the partition with you. Can I just read out the provisions and give India independence? And you have to wait 48 hours for me to discuss this properly because it was based on census data. It was based on census data, which I will discuss with you separately. There's no full form of Pakistan. Pakistan means Pakistan, very holy land. There's no full form of Pakistan. If you found something on the internet, it is Pakistani propaganda. Pakistan did not exist before 1947, 14th August 1947. Why this kind of division? Because Jinnah had to be appeased. If not, India would never have got transfer of power. And as it is, Nehru and INC had got frustrated. They were like, Jo chahiye de do isko. Give something to Jinnah. Give us power. We've been fighting since 1885. Give us transfer of power. Enough is enough. If Jinnah wants it, as it is, Pakistan had become inevitable by this point of time. So very simple point that Jinnah had made sure that Indian independence would be messy. So Balkan Ismay plan was that in March to May, Mountbatten decided that the cabinet mission was untenable, formulate an alternative plan. This plan was prepared by a committee by a person called, I'll not call them sir and all, Hastings Ismay, George Abel, and Mountbatten himself. The plan Balkan was completed and presented to to Nehru on 5th, 6th, what we call as April, and it is called the ISME plan, but ISME backed out. So a person called Dicky Bird actually also got part of it. The plan envisaged transfer of power to not one union, but to every province. Madras, Bombay, United Province, Punjab, Northwestern Frontier, and with Punjab, Bengal given option to vote for partition for their provinces. Various units thus formed along with the princely states would have the option to join India and Pakistan or become separate itself. The main purpose of this plan was to give provinces should be first independent as successor states rather than giving independence to India and Pakistan first. The fact of the matter is how Afghanistan divided from Pakistan. That was done. That was done way before Pakistan idea even came, because that Afghanistan was already never captured by the British. Never captured by the British. The USSR was sitting there. This plan, the ISME plan, got what we call as dismissed automatically. Dicky Bird plan was nothing but a modified plan of this, and it was informally discussed with Nehru. Nehru was disillusioned by what they were doing. Nehru rejected both Dicky Bird and ISME and saying this will balkanize India and provoke violence, and therefore Mountbatten will then basically kill both plans, ISME and Dicky Bird. And what will happen is Mountbatten will come up with the Mountbatten plan 3rd June 1947. Why they send it to London? For approval. For approval. Obviously, the parliament has to approve. Now, on 15th August, he argued India would be freed if one group of Punjab and Bengal assembly demanded for partition, it would be done. Sindh assembly would decide whether they would partition or not. A northwestern frontier province plebiscite will be held based on limited suffrage. If partition happened, then would be boundary commission in Radcliffe. Princely states could be either joining or remain free. Ironically, if you see, Mountbatten plan has a clause for voting, plebiscite. This is where Mountbatten played a game. Mountbatten original plan said plebiscite. Ask the people of Punjab, ask the people of Bengal, ask the people of Northwestern Frontier Province. But ironically, when the Radcliffe line was drawn, no plebiscite was taken. This is why partition became a problem for India. Because Mountbatten will then introduce this via the July 18, 1947 Indian Independence Act, but then he will not be true to what he had said. The British Parliament ratified the Mountbatten Plan on Defence Indian Independence Act 1947, which will be implemented on 15th August. The Act provided for creation of two independent dominions, India and Pakistan. Each dominion would have a Governor General to be responsible for the remaining of the Act and under 1935 Act itself. The Constituent Assembly of each dominion was to exercise powers of the Central Legislative Assembly, and the existing Central Legislative Assembly and Council of State would be abolished. For the transitionary period, till a new constitution was written, the government could work under the Government of India Act 1935. Jinnah became the first Governor General of Pakistan, what he wanted forever. And India decided to request Mountbatten to continue because we needed a name, a person to manage this fool called M.A. Jinnah. And with this, India got independence on 15th August 1947. And iti adhyay samapta. Your modern India is over. So, happy independence to all of you. We started a month back and we've given independence to India today. On 8th, on the stroke of 8th December 2023 at 6:39 p.m., a nation has been born, which is India. Now, if this is clear to you, I would like to take a break and I would like to give you a break. And when we come back, miscellaneous topics. Why people celebrate 14th night? Because 14th night is Pakistan. 14th night is 15th morning. When I come back, I will give you a basic overview of what has happened Other than that, this is basically what we've covered. What type of question can you expect? What is this dicky bird? What is isme? What is the provision of Indian Independence Act? The concept of Attlee's Declaration, what it is. Done? Can we take a break? Can we take a break? Now tell me one thing. Tell me generally one thing. Very simple thing I'll ask you. When you started with me 1 month back and today, now does modern India make sense to you? Because some of you were asking me very fundamental questions. What to do, what not to do, this and that. And do you now understand that everything had its own purpose? Everything was logical. And if you look at it, except for the four modules, social justice reform movement, tribal peasant, wars, and the concept of advent and all, the first 4 or 5 modules, everything has been very straightforward. Very straightforward. It's all logically linked. So I hope you are more capable of understanding modern India generally, and you are also now more enlightened about your own country. Communalism, India, and everything in that sense should be now clear to you. When we come back, smaller topics will be covered with you, but major story is completed. On Monday, I will give you master timeline, master keys, master summaries. All constitutional summaries, one place, one master timeline from 1498 till 1947. I will give you one master timeline. And over and above that, I will also discuss with you the certain areas where you need to concentrate. I'll show you the previous year questions today. You will automatically understand whatever questions are coming. Right? Is it true Nehru Gandhi ji offered PM position to Jinnah? Jinnah would have taken Pakistan either way. Don't do that. Okay. Perfect. 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 We'll take a break here and we'll come back later. So we come back at what exactly 7? 7 enough? Want to celebrate independence? Okay. Right. We come back at 7 and we take the story forward. 7-5 is too much. This much independence is also not good. See you. Sadhana, send me the details and send me the number also. Huh? We'll get this sorted. Unacceptable at all levels. We'll get it sorted. Don't worry. You have whatever details you have, you email me. How much portion history optional I can cover in this? Everything you've covered, except for world history, little bit of topics. Now there are two things which I want to do with you. You've given India independence. Now there are two things. First thing which I want to do with you is, Sir Columbus discovered America, then how the map will be drawn. Well, Columbus, when when the new world was not known, only old world was shown. After 1492, map is there. Okay. First, I want to discuss a very common issue with you, tell you the solution, and then do previous year questions. Because that will give you a little bit of more confidence in what is actually happening. Balkan plan is give every province in India separate, 11 separate nations come together like America into one. Can I do these two things? One common issue which you have, and the second to do previous year prelims. Yes. Now, very common thing which a lot of students already fear. I've already given you a PDF for that, which is the concept of press and journals. In this PDF which you will get, you will see something like this. This I have given on slide number 140 onwards all the press and journals which have been there in India in a table with their founder, facts about them, foundation dates. Now, I am not asking you to learn it, but some of you may get a better sleep knowing that there is one place in which this is given. Remembering all is not essential. There has been no question in the past 5 to 6 years out of this portion. So it is just to complete your preparation. So I made the building. I'm now adding the finishing touches. I'm just telling you that there is a section in this PDF which can help you. Do not learn all of them. Just time to time go through it if you get time. If a question does come from this area, the cost effective analysis is not good. Input is too much, output is too less. But still, because I cannot leave this area, the red ones which I've marked are quite important. If you can remember the red ones first, it will be more important. The simple point is, remember the red ones, that will be actually very important for you. The simple, straightforward point is, don't have to learn it, but I've given it to you. I've given it to you in PDF form. I've given it to you in this form. You can just keep it with you. It will help you. We have already discussed Indian sociology, Bande Matram, Talwar Free India, Tarak Nath Das. Everything which is already here is actually told to you. Do you understand the purpose? Do you understand the purpose? Okay. Second thing is, again, every Congress session which matters. Banaras, Calcutta, Surat, Lucknow, Purna Swaraj, Karachi has been discussed with you separately. Ramgarh. But I've also given in this PDF or in this slide itself every session, every president, why it is known for. For example, W.C. Banerjee, first session, formation of INC. For example, 1986, Calcutta, Rahmatul Sayani, first time Vande Mataram sung in the session itself, written by Rabindranath Tagore. So you see, every session which is important, we've already discussed these three, which is Banaras, Calcutta, Surat. We've already discussed it. Thereafter, the later ones, 1916, when they will come back. Thereafter, Annie Besant. Very important point. The first woman president of the Congress was Annie Besant, 1970. But first Indian woman president was Sarojini Naidu in Kanpur. So in the examination, look for the word Indian or not. First woman president is Annie Besant. First Indian woman president is Sarojini Naidu. The only session over which Gandhi was a presiding president is 1924 Belgaum session. What resolution was taken at Belgaum session? What is the Belgaum session known for? 1924. Think of it in the timeline. What is it known for? Yes, Swarajist no changers, Swarajist agenda taken up by the Congress itself. Very beautiful. Now, thereafter, we already know Purna Swaraj resolution. We already know Karachi session. Now, a very interesting peculiarity. Ramgarh we've also done. Haripura we've also done. Tripuri we've also done. A very interesting peculiarity is between 1941 to 45, Quit India movement was there. No cabinet, no session was taken. 41 to 45, no session. Last Congress known session is in 1946, Meerut, J.B. Kriplani. He is the last president of the INC. So I've told you the peculiar ones, and these are things for which students hyperventilate. Congress sessions. You've not given me the list of, for example, journals. They will not learn it. But I'm just telling you, every Congress session which has ever existence between 1885 to 1946 is here. So this may help you in PCS level examination, right? If this is clear, you can have a better sleep tonight knowing that you have this list. I can discuss the previous years. Because then I have 2-3 small topics to cover. I have to discuss, for example, the Civil Services Commissions, the depressed classes, Dr. Ambedkar. Okay. Now, pay attention. This is 2022. 2023 questions, I'll do it on Monday with everything together. With reference to the proposal of Cripps mission, consider the following statements. The Constituent Assembly would have members nominated by the provincial assemblies as well as the princely states. Any province which is not prepared to accept the new constitution would have the right to sign a separate agreement with the British regarding its future status. Which of the statements are correct? Giving you a minute, read it properly, and it's a very easy question if you understand the provisions of the Cripps mission. If you are not liking this type of question, you need revision. It's not an extraordinarily difficult question, very easy question this is. (34, 34, 21, 11). Now, the 21% and the 34%, this 50% of the crowd. See, let's take the obvious one. This is correct because this is the partition clause of the Cripps mission, that every province can leave the dominion if it does not want to be part of the constitution. This is a very obvious one, which is any province which is not prepared to accept the new constitution can become a new state itself. This is basically the partition clause. Now, if you have answered these two, then, or rather A and C, you have forgot about one thing. Separate agreement means that only. Separate constitution. Don't read too much into it. Be very clear in the language. UPSC always use this type of language. The first one, it's very interesting. Constituent Assembly would have members nominated by provincial assemblies as well as princely states. No. Nominated only out of princely states. Provincial assemblies, proportional representation was there. Now, if you got this question incorrect, what you need is revision. But do you call this question extraordinarily factual and difficult? We have discussed August Offer, Cripps mission, and we've discussed the Wavell Plan and Cabinet mission for the same reason, because their provisions can be asked in this manner. The fact is, you separate agreement, don't try to dissect the words too much. Simple. Constituent assembly nominated, yes, but for only for princely states. Proportional representation for assemblies. Separate agreement, yes. Every state, every province could be separated from the union if they don't like the main constitution. Can I move to the second question? Okay. This is an easy one. Think like a Britisher and you'll get the answer. In the Government of India Act 1919, the functions of the provincial government were divided into reserved and transferred. Which of the following were treated as reserved subjects? Administrator of justice, local self-government, land revenue, and police. Think like a Britisher, and you'll get an answer. I have made you learn and think like a Britisher. Show me how British you are. Perfect. Beautiful. 68%. White as a Britisher. Great. Proud. Britishers will be really proud. 9%, 12%, 10%. कहाँ कमी रहेगी? Where is the problem? Why are you not able to think like a Britisher? See, reserved subjects are important subjects. Justice, okay. Revenue, okay. Police, obviously. Do you really think that the British will care about Panchayati Raj institutions, local self-government, what is happening at the village level? Just think like a Britisher. There is no way you can learn the whole list because the list is 77 subjects. But if you apply your knowledge, knowing that transferred are useless ones, this is a question on hierarchy. You see how they used a question in which you have to apply hierarchy rather than explain to them hierarchy. Now, again, pay attention to the words. Can I discuss this question? Clear? 2022. Okay. Arcot emerged out of Hyderabad. Is it right? Yes, it is right. Hyderabad, Carnatic came out of Hyderabad. The Montagu-Chelmsford reforms of 1919 recommended granting voting rights to all the women above the age of 21. The Government of India Act 1935 gave women reserved seats in the legislature. Here again, if you will turn out to be too big Sherlock Holmes, it is going to become a problem. It's going to actually become a problem. You have to pick up which is correct. Just need a simple understanding. Logic and trusting your own knowledge. Remember the conversation we had with regards to separate electorates 1909. Shanawaz, remember. Some of you will become too over smart here and then you will again mark the wrong option. Good. 46%. But still 27% forgetting something. See, the British have never been so good that they will give all to anything. All women cannot be limited franchisee, I told you. All can't be there. Now it says Government of India Act 1935. Separate electorates were given to women or not? Were separate electorates given to women under the concept of Government of India Act 1935? Yes. Now, before separate electorates kicks in, what is the first step? First, you reserve the seat and then you go for joint or separate. Were women given reserved seats? Yes. Thereafter, the examiner has not said anything. We will not overreach. So, two only. Most of you would have either answered this incorrectly because you thought, okay, reserved seats, separate electorates is not written. But the examiner doesn't care. Separate electorates is a further categorization under reserved seats. Reserved seat is there at least. So the answer becomes 2 only. 8th point I added. Slide. Very good. Perfect. Beautiful. Okay. The Gandhi Pact included which of the following? Invitation to the Congress to participate in the Roundtable Conference, withdrawal of the ordinances promulgated in connection with civil disobedience movement, acceptance of Gandhi's suggestion for inquiry into police excesses, release of only those prisoners who are not charged with violence. Come on. Montague, Golden, not to just aristocratic women, very limited property clause was there, which would only apply to aristocratic women. Asiba, email me, I'll get you connected with counselor. Madhu, I've sent the poll. Perfect. 58% of you were paying attention to Gandhi Pact. Simply, inquiry into police excesses is something which he did not accept. So 3. So automatically the answer becomes 1, 2, and 4. But you would say release of only those prisoners who are not charged with violence. Who was charged with violence? Bhagat Singh. So that is why this statement is correct. RTC, they went, second roundtable conference. Ordinances were removed and only political prisoners were released. This again is an application of knowledge, not a factual question. If you know basic ideas, 2 which were not accepted, everything else was accepted. Okay. Okay, this one is the easiest one. Who of the following organized a march on the Tanjore coast to break the salt law in April 1930? One second. Come on. For the people who are thinking Tanjore, geography should be better. Should be better. Except for Gandhi, only 2 more people did salt marches. Perfect. But not perfect also. K. Kamraj is the syndicate, later Indira Gandhi. Annie Besant had nothing to do with the civil disobedience movement. Chidambaram Pillai is an important leader, but it was C. Raja Gopalachari or Rajaji who actually take it with. This is two salt marches. Other salt march in the Malabar coast is done by whom? How, matlab what? Tamil Nadu has to be Chidambaram Pillai? No. Rajaji did it in the what we call as the Thanjore coast, Tamil Nadu coast. Malabar coast, who did it? Not Sarojini Naidu. Who is that person? Come on, 3 names only I told you. You right, sir. Obviously, I'm right. Yes. K. Kalyappan. Very good. Beautiful. 3 names only. Gandhi, Kalyappan and Rajaji. Again, what is needed is little bit of more. This is done. We'll do mains question on Monday. Now, after doing this, do you understand what is the nature of the questions? At least. I show you the leaderboard. Don't be a. First, tell me, do you understand whatever questions are coming? You tell me one thing. After going through the PPTs, after going through my whole lecture, are you capable of answering these questions? After 2-3 revisions, you can do it. That is what you're here for, right? You're not able to answer is because the issue of revision. On my side, I have given you enough and I've tried to actually give you enough theoretical and what we call as knowledge which is based on not just facts so that you can understand and apply. That is the basic point. Mains answer writing I will discuss with you on Monday because I want to discuss the small topics which are left. Okay. Logic, concept, ideas is what really matters. Okay. For the people who want to see the leaderboard, Sharafuddin, Rani, Khushi, Shailja, Neha, Tabassum, Vikas, Bhavani, Shabir, Chetri, Tivendra, Sanjita, Naveen, Ankush, Kirthana, Meshak, Devyani, Ashay, Sneha, Augustine, and Seema. So some Gumnami Babas are there in the class which don't say anything but are answering well. So all the Subhash Chandra Boses and Gumnami Babas, thank you. And if you all are clear, I would go back to discuss 2 simple topics. First, Dr. Ambedkar, then the civil services committees. Okay. It does only shows first 20, 30. I cannot announce everybody's name because the number is very big. I don't know what is your rank. So please don't worry about this. It's not an issue. It's not an issue. It's not something which you should be too happy about also. It's not, it's only previous year questions. It's about clearing mocks. Okay. Now. Cabinet mission done. See, if you got even one question correct, you tell me, have you actually revised? Have you actually learned anything? You've just been with me here. That's it. That is the point I'm trying to say. One revision and you will do wonders. All questions will become easy for you. Okay. Now. Okay. Now, when I talk about miscellaneous topics, there are certain things which are happening separately, but they would have broken the flow of the main national movement itself. So I have discussed them here. First is something which was happening parallel to the CDM, and that is called the temple entry movement and the justice movement. Now, what I will do is I will mark what you have to remember, and that is enough. So, in the Madras presidency, during the 1917 period, there were 3 leaders, Mudaliar, Nayar, and Tyagaraja, who started a very important movement which was called the Non-Brahmin Conference. This Non-Brahmin Conference, which was against the issues of what we call today as the way caste division was there, basically will lead to what is called as the justice movement. And the justice movement is that disproportionate representation was given to Brahmins in government jobs, and also in the legislature they wanted separate electorates. The Justice Party was formed to establish the non-Brahmin movement, the justice movement in Madras. So you have to remember Justice Party and only three names here. Thereafter, based on the Justice Party and Periyar's ideas, in early 20th century, we also have another manifestation of non-Brahmin caste movement, which is called the self-respect movement. Self-respect word itself given by Periyar, and aim was backward caste should have equal human rights and should also be given representation within the civil services and the legislature. The movement was about rejecting Brahmanical religion and culture. Periyar was the most important person who was outspokenly denouncing most of the text itself, and he argued that untouchabilities is the most purest form of communities itself, and therefore the Brahmins are the ones who are being dominated. His ideas will be very, very influential and will go as far as Malaysia and Singapore, and the concept of superior and inferior should be gone. Now, the justice movement and the self-respect movement, they converge in what is called as the temple entry movement, which started with the Vaikom Satyagraha. So here, Sri Narayan Guru, Asan, and Madhavan in 1924, KP Kesava launched a Kerala-based temple entry movement wherein temples did not allow people to enter, and if there's a road which is going from next to the temple, they were again not allowed to even go around near the temple itself. The Satyagraha was important, and Gandhi took a tour of Kerala during this period as a part of the temple entry movement. So he associated himself with the anti-Brahmanical struggle also. Thereafter, in 1931, when the civil disobedience was on, the temple entry movement again became more and more important. As much as civil disobedience was suspended after Gandhi impact, temple entry movement became bigger and bigger and bigger. With K. Kelappan, this is the same person who did the Dandi March. He, along with 16 volunteers, went to the Guruvayur sector and in a temple while singing a very important bhakti song itself. And finally, the Maharaja of Tanjore, of Travancore rather, who had the rights to control these temples, he opened the gates for lower caste into these temples generally. Similar things were done by Sija Rajagopalachari, and we have K. Krishna Pillai and Gopalan, who are also very important when it comes to satyagrahis and in this movement itself. Now, what you do is, whatever I marked here, just write temple entry movement, self-respect movement, justice movement, and write the names of the leaders in one place, and your job is done. You don't have to get caught up in this. Gandhi's Harijan campaign is later in 1932. Okay, perfect. So we can now talk about the most towering leader. You get the point of that discussion? Yes or no? They've not asked mains question from this area. You get the point of that discussion? Leader, movement, write it down one place. Okay. Now, the most important personality within the depressed class movement, who we have not discussed till this point, is Dr. Ambedkar himself, Dr. Bhimrao Ambedkar, B.R. Ambedkar, Bharat Ratna. Now, he has a very interesting take on depressed classes. See, Gandhi believed that political justice, economic justice is important. The INC also believed that political justice, economic justice is very, very important. But Dr. Ambedkar introduced the concept of social justice. He believed that if political and economic justice happens without social justice, it then is nothing but a hollow idea. If we get independence, but depressed classes don't get independence, if we get, for example, the ideas of economic equality, but if the depressed classes don't get equality, social justice needs to come first, then economic and political. And social justice can only come, that is why the three words which you see in our preamble, are these three words there? Justice, political, economic, social. The reason is that Dr. Ambedkar made sure that the word social was there. He believed, he believed that first everybody needs to come and become equal, then only independence makes sense. He's talking like Bose, but in a different way altogether. So he believed that social justice is a precondition for political justice and economic justice to be better. And for him, he believed that the sword which could kill all issues for depressed classes and his domination was education. Education himself, a PhD, a doctor, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, he showed that if you have a zeal to study, if you have the right set of skills, you can do anything. So, Baba Sahib actually devoted most of his life removing untouchability. He believed that the progress of a nation is only realized when you remove untouchability, which is that once you remove untouchability, remove the caste system, that is when societies become complete. And he also believed that untouchability was a blot on the entire Hindu society, and emancipation of untouchables was very, very important. Article 70. Now, he was the one who believed that economic and political issues can only be properly resolved once social justice is met. If political emancipation precedes social emancipation, it would be the rule of upper caste Hindus and atrocities on the lower castes. The idea of economic progress is also misleading if it is based on the ideas of casteism. So, casteism and untouchability needs to be removed. Social reforms should be not just about family reform, religious reform, but educational reform also. And when you remove child marriage, when you remove the issues which are there, when you empower women, you also empower the depressed classes. Now, throughout his life, he did a lot of interesting things, and you need to know it. In 1923, this can come in the examination, basics match the following. 1923, he formed the Bahishkrit Hitkarni Sabha Outcast Welfare Association to spread education amongst the depressed classes. He was also very, very important in Nasik when the temple entry movement was happening in Kerala. He was doing it in the Kalaram temple in Nasik. And Dr. Ambedkar also has the distinction to be part of all three roundtable conferences representing the depressed classes itself. When in 1932 we know that Gandhiji insisted in Vijaydarwa jail, he will change his stance with regards to the Pune Pact itself. The Pune Pact will give more seats. But the fact of the matter is in 1936, he will not stop and form the Independent Labour Party. And during the Second World War, he will fight against fascism and say that fascists need to be defeated. In 1956, after independence, he will embrace Buddhism. And in 1990, Dr. Ambedkar was given the Bharat Ratna. 1991, 14th April, was called the Year of Social Justice itself. And today we have the Ambedkar Foundation, which works to make sure that whatever Baba Sahib lived for is taken forward. And the Ministry of Social Justice and Empowerment also is a direct consequences of his methods. The Constitution has a very important imprint of what Dr. Ambedkar wanted out of it. And he wrote a very interesting set of texts. For example, Mook Nayak, Janta, The Annihilation of Caste, The Untouchables, and Buddha or Karl Marx. Very interesting books. If you get a chance, you can read them. But this is again a prelims oriented area where you can get these questions as marking them straightforward. This is what you need to know for Dr. Ambedkar vis-a-vis the examination. It's a very, very beautiful area, but for the examination, this is the relevant portion. If this is clear, which is depressed classes, what we had to do, again, very simple, straightforward, AIL, and this area is done. AIL, and the area is done. Can we discuss civil services committees? Civil services committees. Okay. AIL basically encompasses three very important, very important civil services committees which were introduced. You already know, when was open competition introduced in India or in ICS? When was open competition introduced? The Charter Act 1853. Charter Act 1853 made ICS from nomination to the concept of open competition. So we know that the Charter Act 1853 straightforward said that, under Macaulay, it said that we need to remove this concept of court of directors nominating ICS, and an open competition based idea should be there. The people who are the fittest should be selected for ICS. Ironically, the main result has come, and we're talking about ICS reform. After 1857, the ICS will be opened more and more for the Indians, and Indian civil services as serving the crown will only happen when crown rule will come. But throughout its history, three very important committees were formed. One is called Atchison, then Inslington, and then Lee. The Indian Civil Services Act of 1861, which till today, Viceroy position is not ICS post. That's a constitutional post created by the British. Indian Civil Services Act, which still dictates a lot of things till today, was created in 1861 by the Government of India, British Government of India, and the Crown, to basically ascertain what should be the basic points which should go forward. Covenanted civil services were there. Basically, you cannot take any money from anyone else other than the British Government of India. Exam will be held in England based on classical learning of Greek and Latin. You know, right now, two languages which you clear have to be English, and one has to be one Indian language out of the HED. It used to be Greek and Latin, which you had to actually qualify in languages itself. Permissible age, highest age, has been changing from time to time, 23, then 22, then 21, then 19. Can anybody tell me why is the age going down? Or why are they reducing the age progressively? What is there? 59, 60, 66, 78. Very good. The more nationalism was coming up, the less the age they let down. So that it's a hypocritic idea that don't allow Indians to enter, because you had to travel to London to give this examination. So you can't give them opportunity in that sense. But we Indians still reach there, separate issue altogether. And this point was, you can Indian and European can only be appointed if he resides minimum of 7 years in India, and should pass the examination in a vernacular language also when he's employed. This will also happen to you if you get, for example, you are from UP and you get Tamil Nadu cadre. So you'll be expected to learn Tamil. This is a standard thing which happens. You are expected to learn the vernacular language of that sector once you have got your cadre in that sense. Thereafter, under this act, Indians demanded more and more for the age to be increased and more representation. S.N. Tagore, the brother of Rabindranath Tagore itself, will become the first Indian to qualify the Indian civil services. 1878-79, Lytton will introduce the statutory civil services consisting of 1/6 of covenanted positions. The first time there was a quota to be filled by Indians. but it was never applied. It was never ever applied. The real changes happen through the concept of what we today call as Atchison, Islington, Lee. Atchison, Islington, Lee. Atchison Commission. Now pay attention. This will come in the examination. AIL. AIL. Atchison was set up by Dufferin. He said that exam should only happen in England. And he created the concept of PCS examination. He said there should be one ICS, provincial civil services, subordinate civil services. And he raised the age to 23. Now you see, in India, we have UPSC, state PCSC, and SSC. This concept comes from here. The idea of 3 levels of recruitment comes from here. Imperial Indian Civil Service, Provincial Indian Civil Service, and subordinate civil services. This idea comes from Atchison, remember. Then comes Islington. Islington says, no, we should go for simultaneous exam, and it will begin in 1922. 24 for the first time the examination will happen in Allahabad and in England together. Thereafter, the most important commission which is there is Lee. Lee is the one who said that there should be 50% parity, 50% parity. He said that Secretary of State should continue to recruit ICS. Indian Forest Services will also be created. He, however, said an educational service should also be there. 50-50 parity between European and Indian in the next 15 years. And under his idea, the Public Service Commission was established in 1926. The fact of the matter is, the reason why 55% of all officers were Indian in 1945 was because of Lee Commission. So, I have discussed with you a lot of commissions. Wo, hu, ra, sad, har, sir. If you remember. Then, we've discussed the SLM, AIL. This is now a new addition for you. This is the Femine Commissions. This is the Education Commissions. This is the Civil Services. This is Femine, Civil Service, and this is Education. And there's one more commission which is called Butler Commission. It's called Butler Commission. Butler Commission is known for what we call as paramountcy, which I will discuss with you on Monday. Paramountcy Commission. You don't have to die over it, but in the examination, I think you will be able to identify, right? You'll be able to identify the different commissions, put them in one page. It will help you in the examination generally. Write the acronyms, write the names, put it on one page and paste it somewhere. It will help you. Sunday will be the doubt session, 17th. Are we clear about Civil Services Commissions? AIL, Atchison, the level 3 level examination. Lee, simultaneous examination. Islington, simultaneous examination. Lee, 50-50 parity. Yes? Okay, perfect. So, we have covered Indian Civil Services. We've covered this also. Now comes a little bit of pain. Little bit of pain because this is the most humongous area, but we have to discuss it. This is a very big area, very cumbersome area. And after this, we are done with modern India. This is called the Press Acts. You would have seen it in different areas. We've already covered this. We've already covered the text and books. And we've covered. Yes, this is the last topic we need to do. Last 40 minutes of your patience I want, because this is going to be a little bit painful. I'm telling you already. Can we discuss this area? If you need a breather, I'm ready to give you 5 minutes. Not an issue. Because I want your attention for the next 40 minutes. Breather? Okay. So we can come back We can come back at what? 7:55 and we can take this story forward. Small section, little bit. Don't judge either me or modern India or anybody based on this idea, because this is, I hate it myself, but you have to do it. So before we go, Governor General Viceroy, all the acts, all the journals, all the newspapers list is with you now. All Congress sessions list is with you now. And we have covered the story from 1498 till 1947. And we've done all other important personalities. What is left is press. And once done, you just have to revise modern India regularly. And simple straightforward point is, three things are very important for you. Conceptual part should be done first. Factual part should be done regularly. That is the only thing I'm expecting from you. Cannot learn all committees, all press, all things in one go. What I want from you is systematically divide your time and you will be able to cover everything. Don't do the heavy portions first. For example, social reform movement, tribal peasant, and these things first. Rather, cover the national movement first, because that is the most important area out of which questions are coming. 50% of all questions will come from this area. Right? With this, we can take a break and we can come back at 7:55. I'll give you a strategy in the end. Don't worry, it's not my last class with you. Last class will be on Tuesday and then Sunday. I'll see you at 7:55. Okay. We start our discussion again. And as I said, this area really is a little bit too factual. But I'll tell you what to do with it. See, the press played a very important role in the Indian national movement. And the first printing press was brought by the Portuguese to India in 1550. In a way, they wanted to basically print the Bible in India, and spread Christianity. And that is why the first book which was also published by the Europeans, is the Portuguese, not in English. The first English weekly is 1780 by a person called James Augustus Hickey. And the problem was his Bengal Gazette started to become too critical of Hastings. Hastings and the Chief Justice MP literally were bashed by a European himself, Hickey, and he is considered the father of the Indian printing press in India. However, the Hickey's Gazette became later disbanded because he became too critical of the British activities in India. So you can see, a European was not ready to tolerate a European again. Thereafter, multiple newspapers developed. Again, don't have to learn this, just enjoy it. For example, the Bombay Courier, the Bombay Gazette, which later becomes the Bombay Herald in 1792. Then in Urdu, the first newspaper in 1837 is Sayyidul Akhbar. Then you have Delhi Akhbar, 1838. Hindu Patriot by Harish Chandra Mukherjee in 1840. And by 1862, have the Indian Mirror, which is initiated by Devendranath Tagore, and then K.C. Sen and Narendranath Sen will also become a part of it, both brothers. Again, don't need to learn it. Then by 1861, we have the Bombay Times, Bombay Standard, Bombay Courier, and Telegraph all merged into today what is called as Times of India. So the Times of India, which you read today, in a way, is not under Robert Knight now, but was its origin is in 1861. Then you have Statesman and Friends of India will become Statesman newspaper in 1890. Hindu, the paper which you use for the examination, is set up in 1878 by G. Subramaniam Iyer. G. Subramaniam Iyer. And the fact is, the two most important newspaper or three most important newspapers who become very important for extremists, Kesari, Maratha, and Kelkar, is basically taken forward by Tilak and Kelkar in 1881. What I'm trying to show you is something very straightforward and something very simple. The fact is that newspapers in India are becoming bigger and bigger and bigger. The more they write, the bigger the problem is for the British. And that is why press censorship was something which was always a part of the British East India Company or the Crown. Because today we know everything which is happening in India. Now nothing can actually be not published or saved. Everything comes in the newspaper and in the electronic media very quickly. But like the railways, newspaper played a way of bringing people together. Now, one thing very straightforward. There is nobody in this classroom who can learn every provision of every act, because we are not doing journalism. This is not BSc or BA honors journalism. We just have to see how the British literally became more and more aggressive in press censorship. That is the area, or that is the basic interest of this discussion. I really don't want you to learn this, because again, the input output is not worth it. Literally not worth it. So what I want from you is, you just listen to me and you realize how the dates as they're going forward, the acts are becoming more and more draconian. Can we do that? Can we do that? Yes, can we do it? Which is basically see an evolution of politics in that sense, wherein how the politics is becoming more and more what we call as draconian and controlling. So see, the first act which comes is called Censorship Act or Censorship of Press Act 1799. So even before the start of 19th century, they are already started. And you see, what is the purpose? What is the purpose? The purpose is very simple. They should know the name of the printer, the editor, and the proprietor. Tell me, why do they want the names? Why do they want the names? Every newspaper should have the name of the printer, editor, and proprietor, meaning who owns it. You tell me. They will go pick that person up, burn the newspaper, kill that person. So it's basically to punish the people. And there is pre-censorship at this point of time. Before printing any material, it should be submitted to the Secretary of the Government for pre-censorship. Will be extended to everything which was published, magazine, pamphlet, journal, book, and only Hastings will come and say that this is too much work for the government to do. Now, in 1823, they will have a regulating act under, they will try to regulate the newspapers, which is every publisher should get a license. So they already know who you are, and if you are not registered, 400 rupees will be taken. Magistrate can seal unlicensed presses. Governor General can cancel license also. And the first such newspaper to be closed is Miratul Akhbar, which is a paper which was talking about the British too much, was unlicensed, so they closed it. So you see, from pre-censorship, now they've gone to licensing it. Now, when Metcalfe comes, he is seen as the father of press in India. He's as a liberator of press. Because what he does is he removes this concept of pre-censorship and licensing, but he only asks that premises of publication and declaration should be there. He is the one who abolishes all the acts previous to it. All the acts previous to it. Wherein the simple point is he is liberating the press in a way. He is liberating the press in a way. Metcalfe, remember, if anybody asks you, who is the father of modern India? Unquote, unquote. Who is the father of modern India? Quote, unquote. Unfortunately, we have to call a Britisher a father of modern India, but who is it? Not RRR, not RRMR, it will be, not RRR. It is Dalhousie. Dalhousie is the one who introduced railways, the press, the telegraph, and what we call as the postal system. Father of civil services. Father of civil services. Come on, you know it. Very good. Cornwallis. Cornwallis is the father of civil services. Father of communal politics. Father of communal politics. Very good. Minto. Minto. Curzon, not properly, but Minto. Curzon, Minto, but Minto is called the father of communal politics. Then, when it says father of Indian press, it's Hickey. The liberator of Indian press is Metcalfe. And remember, this is a different Metcalfe. That was T.B. Metcalfe, who discussed Thomas B. Metcalfe, who was the one who talked about the minute in education. This is Charles Metcalfe. It's different Metcalfe. Now, 1857, they reintroduce licensing restrictions, publishing, prohibiting, keeping, and possessing a printing press without license as an offense. The discretionary right was kept by the British, and the government will now prohibit publication and circulation of materials. Now, I obviously don't need to ask you why would they go to this level in 1857. He had liberated in 1830s. Once the revolt of 1857 starts, people start talking about it. So what they're doing is they're basically making sure that the Licensing Act comes in, and printing press is again controlled. This is called gagging of the press. Gagging means suffocating the press. So you can see there is a correlation. Two very heavy, liberated, then again very heavy. Now, by 1867, they replace the Metcalfe Act itself, and they become more and more restrictive. How? Book, newspaper. Print the name of the printer, place of publication. A copy should be submitted to local government within 1 month of publication. So it was pre-censorship, it is post-censorship. They can ask you to remove that book from the circulation. Again, 1867 means what? Moving towards the national movement, moving towards what we call as the early nationalism pre-INC associations. So with pre-INC associations rising, they are going for registration. Then 1868 to 1919, the whole concept changes itself. More and more anti-imperialistic and nationalistic press comes through. Either one set of papers support the colonial Raj, or others basically destroy the Raj itself. For example, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, we had very major coverage in all the newspapers, but Jallianwala Bagh, in a way, the first type of newspaper started to reduce, which is after Jallianwala Bagh, the true British nature was in front of everybody. The number of newspapers started to increase in this area and reduce in this area. After 1919, the British were now being criticized left, right, and center. And that is why their control will become even more progressively higher. The worst act, the worst of the worst, which is considered worst act, is considered the Vernacular Press Act. Lytton is considered a very sadistic person. Arms Act and Vernacular Press Act. Can we expect a question from this area? Very rarely. Even if it is coming, it is not worth learning each and every provision. But we've not seen a question directly from this. Vernacular Press Act, it said any vernacular press, not English, any Indian language paper which is criticizing the British, now the magistrate can ask any publisher to give assurance that he will not write anything against the British. An amount was fixed as security. Magistrate had final decision. And in this, what will happen is this was only for vernacular papers. So overnight, what will happen is multiple papers will become English. For example, Amrit Bazar Patrika used to come in Bengali and Hindi. Overnight, it became an English paper. Okay, if you are only going to impact vernacular press, we become English. So Som Prakash as a newspaper was stopped under this act. S.N. Banerjee was the first one who was imprisoned under this act for writing too bad about the British itself. He wrote a very bad editorial about a judge in Calcutta. And the fact of the matter is, Bal Gangadhar Tilak will also go to jail multiple times because of the Vernacular Press Act. Vernacular Press Act is considered the worst of the worst in that sense. Why this? This is the number 9. Act number 9 of 1878. English means British, yes. Then by 1908, you get the Newspapers Incitement of Offences Act. Now, this is a very interesting act. Again, I know it is heavy, can't help it. It's interesting because it is basically trying to stop any newspaper talking about revolutionaries. if any newspaper is found inciting offenses, crimes of murder, act of violence, the license will be taken away. 1908, 1907, Fuller, Fraser, Kingsford, Jackson. Now, our newspapers were talking about these deaths, and therefore they were celebrating the death of a British officer. So now they are saying that you can't talk about assassinations because that will entice more and more violence and excite more people. And therefore, now district magistrate can confiscate. You have the option to go to the High Court. Yugantar, Sandhya, and Bande Matram will be stopped. This is basically to kill Yugantar Anusilan. So you can see the dates are matching the things which is happening in the national movement. Then comes Indian Press Act 1910. Under this act, now every publisher needs to deposit certain security deposit. And this was to basically check if they are not doing something anti-British. So if your registration can be cancelled, you can be fined, this and that. But again, they're trying to control nationalism through the press itself. Then close to 350 presses were penalized, 40,000 was collected, 130 newspapers had not given security deposit. Does not matter. Act was used against Punjabi and Hinduvasi. 2 appeals were taken to High Court. Nothing really happened. Now, Press Committee in 1821 will be set up under Tej Bahadur Sapru. Committee it was called. It will ask both these acts to be removed. And then will come 1931. Now, pay attention. Pay attention to the provision and you tell me who am I talking about. The main feature of this act was that if any publication, directly or indirectly, admired the offense of any person, real or fictitious, the government would seize the paper. Which look at the time period, which person are they talking about? Very good. This act is literally for Bhagat Singh. Because people had started to admire Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev. This act is about that. Literally to impact CDM, but specifically for Bhagat Singh. So you see how petty the British were. That when it came to Bhagat Singh, they were not even ready for they were not even ready or allowing people to celebrate him. So that was literally petty as hell. Now, Press Regulating Act of 42, we're coming to end, don't worry. Registration of journalists started. Limitations on messages which can be given about civil disturbances. Limitation on headline, space, prohibition of newspapers to write about act of sabotages, which is basically nationalist movement. And this is where the conversation ends. All which are bad for press are here. Remember the good for press. Good for press. These Hastings, Metcalfe, Macaulay, Ripon are the 4 viceroys which actually were pro-press. If you can remember this slide, our conversation with regards to this is complete. Done? I told you it's a very descriptive area, can't help it. Okay. Now, I've already given this to you. You know it. Now, I need a blank slide. Previous questions done. Now, please, is necessary to learn all acts? No, I'm not even asking you to learn it. Now, since the beginning, I have been doing different things with you. On Monday when we meet, I'll give you a master timeline, which is basically called an event timeline. This I will give you from 1498 to 1947. For the students who say that, do we need to learn years? This is the timeline you learn. Second, I will give you one which is called Constitutional Acts timeline and summary, in which between 1773 till 1935, everything which has been covered between this constitutional, the 1919, 1909, 1861, 1892, everything, I will put it on one slide itself. And over and above that, I've given you certain codes and tricks. Now let's talk about modern India strategy. What to do with strategy? Can I discuss strategy and we can end the class for today? Because now your modern India is complete. Your modern India is complete. Mains questions and modern India mains questions, and this I will discuss with you on Monday, or I'll do it on Sunday. That I will see. Don't worry. I have these questions with me. I will discuss it with you. That is my promise to you. Now. See, modern India is for both mains and prelims. What I want from you now is one proper revision. Proper revision means you will first learn concepts and ideas and the timelines. Once you're done with that, then you will apply 15 minutes rule for the factual portions. Now basically what I'm expecting from you is, for anybody who is 2024, I'm giving this strategy. For 25, 26, 27, 28, 30, 50, 55, 60, your strategy changes. Wherein the more time you have, the more time you devote. So for anybody who is preparing for 2024, what I want from you is that you have to, I've asked you to make one table for social reform movement. I gave you the timeline for example, the peasant and tribal. I've given you already. I've given you rebellions also in one place. All factual portion. Facts means facts, hard facts. Peasant movement, leader, this, that. Social reform movement, this, that. The point is that cannot be learned in one go. I just want that you learn 1 to 2 facts each day. Cyclone, drought, flood, anything. If in a disciplined way you are going to cover factual portion, names, if you are problematic with names, the area of tribal peasant, social reform movement, wars, and this all this area, which is this newspaper governor generals, 1 to 2 facts every day I want from you. 2 things if you can learn, you have a lot of time to learn everything. I'll tell you one thing very very clearly. First revision will take time. It can take up to 15, 20, or even 1 month. But once you're done with the first revision, it will take lesser and lesser time. What I also want from you is once a month till February, you have to do answer writing one question. Once a month, not once a month, for not once a month, once a week, one question modern India you will write. So basically what I'm asking from you is weekly target for you is that you will write one question every week till February. For a person who has to give for 2025, 26, 27, 28 till 2030, you will keep on doing it till February of that month. You will keep on doing it till February 2025, February 2026, February 2024, 25, 30. Basically, 4 months before the examination, answer writing stops. This is answer writing. If you have never started, start now. Answer writing. Then, every day, 15 minutes morning, and 15 minutes evening. And this has worked like a dream for most of my students. It will work for you also. 1 to 2 facts every day, learn. Years, names, whatever you want. Then, what I also want from you is that you will go through the PPT once properly. And now, see, NCERT, I want you to open and read it, not learn it. Just like a storybook, go through it. Don't learn it, read it. PPT is your foundational understanding. Then, Spectrum, my book, or Bipin Chandra is your own call. This is for revision. Only read it. Learning has to happen from the PPT. Learn the PPTs, revise from these books. Revision happens quickly. Learning takes time. Now, you will, I know you will say, sir, I have multiple subjects to do. Yes. Sahi bola. I know. Multiple subjects. 30 minutes I'm asking you history, modern. If you want to add 30, 30, 30, do it for polity, geography, and economics. Simple point is, that is why, Anjan, I'm asking you to revise from it. I know it. I have written it. These are also mine. That is also mine. 30 minutes modern history. This is not too much to ask. If you are multiple years, you can increase the number. One question I'm asking you to write, that is again something which is not something I'm very big asking. How can I learn till 2027? Like you're learning right now. The more time you have, the more bigger expert you have to be. The only thing which UPSC asks for is commitment. Commitment and discipline. And if you can do this, you can then nail modern India any question. As it is, prelims 3 to 5 questions are coming, which are quite easy. But time goes fast. Agar by 2027 tak pahunch gaye and that is fast, then it's a problem. If you can go through 3 years not knowing what happened to time, then it's a problem. See, I'll tell you one thing. If you will make realistic timetables, realistic targets, you will never feel crunch of time. If you will actually realize that you are human, then it will be. Because what people do, and I've seen it with my students, they will make 14 hours study schedule, 5 hours sleeping schedule, and I don't know whatever they will do in the left 4 hours. This is unrealistic. There's something called sustainability. For 6 months, 2 years, 3 years, you have to sustain the plan. And I will be very honest with you. If you will make a plan, I will learn 4 modules today, then you're fooling yourself. You are literally fooling yourself. If you're a working professional, if you're a college goer, you know where you have free time. You can't slack off. You use your free time in more efficient way. Sitting with the book is not studying. Effective study is learning. A person can study for 15 hours. A person can study for 5 hours. It's about how much you take out of it. The simple point I'm trying to say to you is modern India is not difficult if you understand the underlying logic of every module. Just go through one module each day. Sure, that is your capacity. But I would say, why not do one thing? Go year by year, that I will cover from 1498 till 1500 or 1510 today. Then I will go from 1510 to 1600 like this. If you will actually do this, it will become more realistic. You will actually become more realistic. My point is 8-9 hours is okay, but please, before the examination, not sleeping for 6 hours is okay. It is a proven Harvard study. A Nobel Prize has been given on this, which is called the circadian cycle. All things you would have heard of, you would have said this to me. There's a very good ad which comes. मैं पढ़ता बहुत हूँ, याद कुछ नहीं रहता. I learn a lot, but I'm not able to recall. Why? Because it has been proven that when you learn something, it goes into short-term memory. It goes into long-term memory only when you sleep, because it is believed that your brain rewires in the night. It will remove all the unnecessary information and it will put it into long-term memory. This is the first study which tells you sleeping is important. 6 to 7 hours is important. 6 to 8, not doing a crime. 14-15 hours, then you're a child, basically an infant. Now, second thing, there's also one more study which proves that any person cannot remember more than 5 days a specific fact. If I learn something today, I can maximum remember it for 5, 6, 7 days maximum, which means that you need to revise. Without revision, if you think this is what people do, they cover Lakshmikant, Bipin Chandra, Nitin Singhania in the first 6 months and they think, okay, now I will remember this when the examination will come. Until and unless you are revising properly, regularly, nothing will go into your mind. UPSC is less about learning, more about revision. You can use the tablet videos if you want to. You can use the books if you want to. Totally your call. Your style, if you have multi-year, you can do the tablet videos also. But 2024, I will then say that going for 100 hours of that is too much. Simple point is, you also have an advantage of having the recordings. If you're not able to recall something, if you're forgetting the concept itself, you can always come back to this video and see what did I say. So please, I am acknowledging that you are human. You should also accept that. You should also accept that. Realistic targets, you will never be under pressure. Unrealistic targets, too much pressure. Second, stop looking at your neighbor. In the sense, if you will compare yourself, you will never go forward. Because everybody is different. Everybody needs to know that you are different. Because maybe you will sit for 1 hour and remember more. He or she is studying more. How relatives do. Stop doing comparisons. Please stop doing comparisons, because half of the pressure will automatically go away. Two siblings are not the same. Then how can be two people be the same? Brother and sister, brother and brother are different. So please understand this point. Don't, and please, one last thing which I will say, and this is the last thing I will say. Stop looking at YouTube videos for motivation. If I'm looking at a topper, he told me a strategy. Stop it. Stop it. If you're so demotivated, then why did you start only? The fact is, topper told, I studied for 15 hours. Kar loge? Will you be able to do it? They will give you unrealistic things, because now they've cleared the examination. Once you clear the examination, everybody becomes Shaktiman. So please remember, this is my biggest thing. Sandeep Maheshwari, this Maheshwari, that Maheshwari, I've never seen a video of that person. Because at the end of the day, motivation has to come from within. If somebody has to tell you that nobody can tell you what you can do, then you are listening to a person telling you that. What will he say? He says, किसी को मत बोलने देना कि क्या कर सकते हो जिंदगी में. यही ना बोलेगा कि don't allow anybody to tell you what you can do in life. That video is literally telling you to do that. So please stop doing it. YouTube, if you really want to watch something, watch documentaries. Watch good things which help you. People cannot motivate a person who is already demotivated. And a person who is motivated does not need a video to motivate that person. Stop wasting time. Start using your time better. And stop looking at strategies of people who have cleared it, because they will give you unrealistic advice. Unrealistic advice: leave ancient medieval, only do modern India, art and culture, manage it somehow. Now, I don't know how will you clear the examination. This is called suicide. Literal suicide they're asking you to do. So my simplest concept. I have nothing to do against toppers. I've been a topper throughout my life. Be it BA honors, be it masters, be it MPhil, be it throughout my life. From my BA honors till PhD, I've been a topper. University topper. Delhi University. I've topped amongst 1.5 lakh people who doing the same course. So I'm telling you that I did not do anything extraordinary. I just was disciplined. So the day you will learn this, that there is nothing called a magic pill which you will eat, it is only simple, straightforward. And if you can do university level preparation like that, UPSC preparation is a subset of that. So stop it and start believing in yourself. Thank you. I will see you on Monday. Post independence, timelines, and we will finish everything by Tuesday and then on Sunday. I'm most probably going to discuss the timing with you on Tuesday. We'll decide it for Sunday. 17th is going to be a doubt session. So thank you. Take care. Finally, modern India is over. Happy independence to you. And you will get independence from me also very soon. But most probably, I will again colonize you with ancient medieval art and culture from 13th. So separate issue altogether. So my domination is like the Portuguese, 400 years, not 200 years. Thank you. Take care and bye-bye.